And welcome. Thank you all very much for making it over here this evening to join us on World Mental Health Day. We've got a fantastic panel for you.
So what other questions do you have for these people who are from the future? And your question coming from 2030, what do you want to learn from them?
In 2018, we had a piece of research published, this is true, that said that we needed to reduce people's vulnerabilities, but we also, as much, if not more, needed to reduce the risk factors that cause somebody to develop mental health difficulties, problems, disorders, however you want to call it. What has been done since 2018 to move the focus away from the individual's resilience and the services that they can access and into improving the environments to fundamentally reduce those risk factors and accept that they aren't an inevitable social condition.
Right. I think that follows quite nicely on from the comment that you're making about that lifelong learning, because you're actually challenging the premise of how we are structuring education, and even if we didn't get to that point where it's exactly as you're setting out, but that's a big one. We know that there are connections being made between how people are learning currently and that surface level learning where you can't, it's exams, and you're not necessarily then retaining a lot of the information that you're supposedly learning. So I think, I guess I'd like to think that we've mitigated some of those risks, that there's already some work going on. I know Casey has an example where student services staff and academics are working together to say we can actually structure our courses differently in a more inclusive way. So some of that work, I think also, if we think about risk factors, we know that unfortunately there is still a lot of discrimination that goes on in our society against a number of different groups. So in 2018, also, we published some research which looked at the experience of LGBTQ+ students' mental health, and students were saying that they still face a lot of discrimination. So I'd like to think that by 2030, again, other social movements were moving in the right direction, and it's unacceptable. We were starting to see that with some sexual harassment stuff on campus over the last several years. When I was a student, I was a women's officer at my university, and I think just from then, not that long ago, a few years ago, it's incredible to see now the sort of Me Too movements, how it shows you how the sort of social shifts that can happen when you have dedicated people advocating for change. So yeah, I hope we'll get to a point where we've done some of that, but it doesn't happen on its own. It also has to be backed up by then changes in university policies, procedures, actually how they deal with harassment and discrimination. They really follow through when it does happen.
One tiny thing. I think one of the risk factors is isolation, and I think we need to think about how can we reduce isolation? How can we reduce that feeling that students have? Sometimes they go to their halls and they stay in their rooms all night. So we know then that a support network is really, really needed. So can we use technology? Is it about social spaces? Is it about actually listening to the students and finding out how can we reduce that kind of feeling of isolation, from a university point of view, but also by enabling maybe more peer-to-peer work. Maybe we need to do more of that. And listening to students to find out what will work as well.